kicks off tonight. We are now 11 hours and change away from the ball being in the air in Motown, and the Lions and Cowboys playing an enormous game. Hawk, let's do over-unders brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's start there. Dak Prescott, we're talking about MVP conversation. His passing total is 268.5 yards. You going over or under?
Give me over. In the last 3 games, which they've been on a win streak, he's passed for 942 yards and 8 touchdowns. Dak is playing at an MVP level. I remember when they hired Brian Schottenheimer and everybody wondered if the offense would regress. No, Dak Prescott is playing the best football of his career.
And one of the reasons is George Pickens. So his total is 81.5 receiving yards, over under.
Give me over again, because there's no way that you can take George Pickens away because CeeDee Lamb is out there. And that's what you hope for with the Cowboys offense. You can't placate to one receiver or the other, so George Pickens will continue to get one-on-ones, and he'll continue to ball.
And then there's Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side. His rushing total, 76.5 yards, over or under?
We're going with the trifecta, Greeny. I'm going over again because Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether he plays or not, he's hobbled. So they're going to rely on other playmakers like Jahmyr Gibbs in all facets of the game, so give me more. And Dan wants 6 offensive linemen out there. Dan Skipper. Dan Orlovsky wants Dan Skipper.
I do.
Which means more yards for Gibbs.
Well, first and foremost, we like over. If you like those picks, they're a parlay on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Look for the over-under featured parlay price at plus 385. So good odds there if you like everyone to have a big night tonight. And very quickly, we start with the Amon-Ra St. Brown of it all. We talked a lot about the Cowboys side of this and their offense and how great they've been. On the flip side, the Lions are supposed to have a great offense, but they are decimated to the point of almost being unrecognizable. Will they have their heart and soul, Amon-Ra St. Brown, tonight?
He's being listed as questionable. If he plays, he's not going to be at full strength. And that's if he plays. He didn't practice early in the week. I think he was limited yesterday. The fact that he's questionable, I think, is something of a victory, because when he went down on Thanksgiving Day, I think people thought this might be a multi-week absence. But he's so tough that he's made it back to at least questionable tonight, though it's hard to imagine he's not going to be out there at full strength, if he's out there at all.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've talked a lot about the Cowboys side of this because that's just who we are. But the reality is the Lions are a team who 2 years ago were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl and then last year got injured beyond belief, and it fell their season apart. And now they lose tonight, Dan. They are in all kinds of trouble of missing the playoffs here. So let's talk about their offense and what we're looking for tonight.
Yeah, tonight Jahmyr Gibbs would be Christian McCaffrey for me. How many different ways can I get you to football? I'm talking 30 to 35 touches. I'd also turn it into a rugby game, not a track meet. I would put 6 offensive linemen on the field. Dan Skipper would be that 6th offensive lineman. And I would pound the Dallas's defensive speed. I'm not going to let you play with speed. So 6 offensive linemen, I'll put another tight end, I'll put a fullback. I would turn it into a jumbo game. And it would be outside run after outside run after outside run. This is something that the Cowboys, while the defense has improved, they struggle with. And it would be different ways to get the speed of Gibbs on the perimeter. I also think this. I'm not going to let you mentioned Clowney. He's been very good. I'm not going to let him rush. I'm going to go max protection. If there's no Amon-Ra, the best thing you can do to help receivers that maybe aren't dynamic is give the quarterback time. Make Jared Goff hold it for 4.5 seconds, try to push the ball downfield. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams have to be the explosive elements. Jameson as a crossing receiver. You've talked about Dallas's defense. It's not great defending the middle of the field. It's something that Jameson is absolutely taking a step forward in. So that would be the game plan for me if I was Detroit tonight. And it's Gibbs, but Gibbs would get realistically push 35 touches.
So let's get the Bussin guys in on this, because the Cowboys defense has looked so much better since they got all of these additions. Some of them coming back from injury like Overshone, some of them coming in trades like Logan Wilson, and especially Quinnen Williams in the middle. They haven't really faced a rushing attack like this, though, right? Philly hasn't run the ball this year. Right. Kansas City never seems to want to commit to running the ball, and the other team they played were the Raiders, who are struggling in every way. So do you expect, if the Lions try to run the ball down their throats tonight, do you think they'll be able to?
Dallas has a different defense than they did in the beginning of the year. Like, even in the beginning of the year, you could put a good offense, a bad offense, didn't matter. Like, they were getting 400 total yards on this Dallas defense. Over the last 3 games, they went from 29th in total defense to now they're sitting at 15. We just need to be middle of the pack. Rushing defense, they went from bottom 10 in the league. Over the last 3 weeks, they were 2nd in the league at rushing defense. So I do think they have a tall task of stopping Jahmyr Gibbs and this Lions offense because they're going to get in all these running situations. But this is a different defense in Dallas than we've seen from the first half of the year.
All the things that Dan Orlovsky pointed out, I agree with. You need to have 6 offensive linemen. You're like, hey, we're going to make this a bloodbath for 60 minutes. That is the way that the Lions are going to have to find a way to win this game. The problem for them is you get Kenny Clark in a trade with Micah Parsons, and then you get Quentin Williams at the trade deadline. Those two guys are critical at stopping the run and have definitely elevated this defense, taking them from Logan Wilson. Battles going on there.
Gotta get him in there.
But when you have that type of pressure in the front of your defense, it alleviates a lot of that pressure on the back end of your defense, speeding a lot of things up in the run game and in the pass game, and that's what's going to make it very difficult for them.
So do you think that the Lions will be able to run the ball down the Cowboys' throats if they try to tonight?
No, I don't. There's obviously with 6 offensive linemen, there's a way in Gibbs, his dynamic ability, but it's not just going to be running the ball effectively. It's getting Gibbs the ball out in the perimeter in space is very much the Christian McCaffrey way. You have to do it with 49ers when they were plagued with injuries as well.
So that maybe the Lions try and make Jahmyr Gibbs into the feature point of their offense, but then are they taking advantage of where the Cowboys might be more vulnerable on their defensive side, which is on the back end?
And that's why it's imperative that they can have Amon-Ra St. Brown in this lineup because they do match up well in the run game, even if they go 6 offensive linemen. But what the defense of the Cowboys struggles with is passes over the middle of the field and yards after catch. So you're going to see here versus the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to have a crossing route from Xavier Worthy, which we've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown get the majority of his yards on. They get lost in traffic on the back end and down the middle of the field creates the big plays. Then you're going to see from Rashee Rice a lot of what you see from Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is catch and run ability, because they're not great in pursuit on the back end. Amon-Ra St. Brown is 5th in YAC in the league, and he's number 1 in receptions over the middle. The Cowboys' defense is 28th against for yards after catch, and they're number 31 with defense over the middle in the pass game. So again, they match up well. If they can get him in the lineup and have to at least draw attention to it, it could open up all the things that you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just to go back to the run game for a second, you brought up Dan Skipper being the 6th offensive lineman. Isn't 4 of the 5 offensive linemen for the Detroit Lions questionable?
We have injuries on that Detroit offensive line.
They are banged up everywhere, though. If you look at their injury report, it's amazing. They've lost Sam Laporta for the year. They have 2 other tight ends that already have been ruled out tonight, including Brock Wright. They're claiming a tight end off waivers tonight, and their number 1 tight end probably is going to be Ross Dwelley, not to mention the offensive line questions. But to think that Penei Sewell would not be out there for a game that the Lions have to win is hard to imagine. I expect he'll be out there. Again, is he at full strength? We'll see.
I absolutely agree with that. But at the end of the day, it's like an offensive lineman, as tough as they are, like when they go out there, when they're not 100%, things happen. Like you're not going to be able to have that level of play that you did before the injury, obviously.
Detroit's the underdog tonight. Like we can say that right now when it comes to, because of the injuries.
Technically, they're favored, but I understand
just
what you're
by
saying.
style of play. Dan Campbell, the identity of this organization.
They thrive on it.
They thrive on it, and they thrive on, okay, you guys want to play your style, Dallas. You're coming to our house. You're going to play our style. I guarantee that 6 offensive linemen is going to be out there. I guarantee they're going to try to dominate and run the football at them. And this is going to be a shrunk-down game. I'd also say this from the Detroit defensive perspective. Kelvin Shepard is their defensive coordinator. It's a huge game for him to say, I'm not going to line up and play those guys one-on-one. I think you want to play a little bit softer zone. I think you want to play off those receivers. Try to play great red zone defense. There is a formula for Detroit to do it tonight. It's a change of defensively, and it's just a mindset. I would be, with the mini bye coming, I would be floored if those offensive linemen are not out there.
From the beginning of the year, we added a 6 offensive lineman, and look what it's done for this table.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. We've ran it well.
It's become a foundational part of who we are.
It has to be.
And we picked up another linebacker.
More physical than others.
We've been doing just fine on that front. Listen, boys, here, let's do straight out of Compton. Will's got takes for days, and Taylor's got reactions. Will Compton, what is your first take?
Yes, sir. Building off the take from earlier, when the Bengals beat the Bills this weekend, the Bengals will go on to win the AFC North.
So we had to crunch some numbers if we're going to do this. I don't have the notes right in front of me. But
You got Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, and Browns.
Absolutely. So obviously if the Bengals have to win this game this weekend, then the Ravens have to beat the Steelers, and the Ravens have to drop one more. The Bengals have the Ravens at home. They've already beat them on Thanksgiving. A lot of domino effect happening there, but it is possible for Joe Burrow to show his face in January.
Sounds like you found the path.
Sound like I'm there, and we're going after it.
I completely agree that the Bengals look like they could, with Burrow, become the most dangerous team. The question is that they dig themselves just too deep a whole.
Yeah.
You think about some of the games they lost this year to the Jets, to the Bears, that might have doomed them. But I agree with you,
I will
Burrow.
say this: Joe Burrow is undefeated this year. Don't ask how many games
nobody
he's
wants
played,
to
but he's
play.
undefeated this year.
They are 3-0 when he starts. All right, Will, give me another one. This one in the South.
Jaguars win this weekend, and Jaguars are going to win the AFC South.
Nice, I like that. So the Jaguars win this game. They are going to be a full game ahead against the rest of the division. The Colts have the Eagles from a couple of years vibe, right? They start 7-1. Now they've been 1-3 in their last 4. You see that train kind of coming off the tracks a little bit. This division is going to come down to the Jaguars and the Houston Texans, and it's going to be the Houston Texans because of that defense. So I'm halfway there with the big guy.
It's interesting. If the Colts really do fall apart, I mean, the start of their season, the Indiana Jones MVP conversation.
And they put a lot of leverage in Daniel Jones' play by trading that first-round pick.
They did, and then Sauce gets hurt, and now the trouble, and so we'll see. You see the odds on your screen right there. The Texans with a win this weekend could start vaulting up that. Last one. I like this one is sort of a big picture NFC take.
Yes, I hate to say this one because I love the spirit of Chicago coming alive right now. But I'm saying that the NFC West are going to get 3 teams in the playoffs this year.
With that.
And the Bears are going to fall. Packers are going to win the division. The Bears are not making the playoffs this year.
Okay, that is wild because obviously the Bears are sitting at the number 1 seed right now. And Ben Johnson,
right
if it ends up the way it is right now, we're talking about Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, co-coaches of the year, if it stays the way it is. But I agree with him. Ben Johnson needs a lot of credit for what he's been able to do with his lackluster quarterback play by masking it with their run game they've been able to have. Eventually you get figured out. December's when you get figured out. I see it also just like the Colts. We're falling off the tracks a little bit there.
Fascinating. I think last weekend may have made believers out of a lot of people. Obviously, the Bussin Boys are not 2 of those people. Now, you may be saying, if you don't watch the Bears play closely, what are they talking about? Caleb Williams is playing great. Well, let me show you some numbers, because I'm not 100% sure everyone recognizes that while Caleb Williams has certainly made enormous improvements, here are some stats. He is dead last in the NFL this season in completion percentage. That's 33rd out of 33 qualified quarterbacks. And he is 20th in yards per attempt. So sort of to make it clear if you put those two together, it's not like he's hurling the ball down the field all the time, and yet it has been inaccurate. So, Dan, you are the first person I turn to all the time for things like this. Chicago is very excited about Caleb right now.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on the tape?
Yeah, lack of route detail and ball placement on a consistent basis. They're playing well on offense in spite of the pass game, but that's not just attached to the quarterback's performance. It takes all 11 to play at a high level. He's played better. He's been less problematic, but 3 clips. Bottom of the screen, the slot receiver's going to run a little bit of a choice route. He's going to get 2 safeties. Caleb, when you get this split safety defense, Caleb's going to start at the bottom, okay? Okay, ball should come out right now. Now, is that tight end contacting that defensive back too much? That's a missed throw. Well, is it because of the quarterback? Now, watch the choice route. He's ready to throw right now, but is DJ declaring to him, yes, I'm going to be open? Caleb resets and everybody's covered at the top. Then you go a little bit later to under center play action. This is the one that really shows. Watch when he releases the football where DJ Moore is on his deep out or shake route, right? 1, 2, 3, ball's out right now. DJ is going to go 6 yards further in his depth. There's no way that should be the allocation of that, but the ball looks like a miss. And so is that the quarterback? Should he take a little bit longer in the drop? Did the receiver go too deep in the route? And so everyone looks at the throw and says, the quarterback stinks. That one looks to be a little bit like both guys are doing a little bit wrong or not exactly the right thing, and that's why it looks like an incomplete pass.
So when Ben Johnson was critical earlier this week of his team's passing game coming off a huge win, I think he sort of made it clear he wasn't just talking about his quarterback.
Oh, he said?
I think
what did
we
he
all
say?
interpreted it. No, I mean, he kept saying the passing game. We all immediately said, oh, he's ripping Caleb Williams.
Nah.
But you're suggesting that he's talking maybe in larger, and he did clear it up a little bit. He wasn't denigrating Caleb. Look, here's the good news in Chicago is the bad news, or maybe it's reversed. The good news is they're playing so well, and Caleb has come so far from what he looked so lost last year. Now the expectations have gone from what you said they should be at the beginning of the season. Just watch the continued improvement, which we are seeing, to all of a sudden, wait a minute, they could win the division. They could be the 1 seed. They could beat out the Packers, who were built to win it right this minute. And so maybe it's not quite ready for that. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing what Dan is seeing. When you're watching an offense, especially in year 1 for Ben Johnson, The thing that makes him a special coach is that his offense is so detail-oriented.
Right.
And he was in Detroit for a long time, so they got to really fine-tune all those things to get to the max level that we saw before he took the Chicago Bears job. This is year one. To your point, the receivers are slow out of those breaks. And if you have a corner route and it's on timing, if you take an inside stem for 3 steps, that will throw the throw off. When I watch Caleb Williams, I'm watching a quarterback who, yes, his completion percentage is down, and there are things he needs to get better at, continue to clean up mechanically. But he's managing the game better.